Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas region. We're about to enter our winners finals, our second one of the week, where we will have a winner of the group for Group B. Bloodyface versus Language Hackers coming up, and we have the bans. No Warriors are in for this series, and Bloodyface with a no Priest lineup, already a little bit bold, given that Priest seems to be one of the more dominant classes going into the first week. But it seems to be working out for him, as instead he has his Rogue, Druid, and Mage up against the Druid, Priest, and the Warlock. Any thoughts on these bans here, TJ?
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think the bans make a lot of sense. I think that that Bloodyface's lineup will definitely... Actually, maybe he thinks that it's going to struggle against the Warrior, but 2 out of the 3 decks in Bloodyface's lineups are the only 2 decks that Language Hacker told me that Big Warrior didn't dunk. So maybe Bloodyface feels like he's going to have a tough time, but 2 specific callouts with the aggressive Rogue and the Malagos Druid, Language Hacker said his Big Warrior struggles with. So they're obviously on different pages. But you can look at that Big Warrior and say, haven't played against it enough, don't know too much what it's capable of. It seems like a strong power deck overall, and one that I didn't account for with my lineup, so I'm going to get it out of the way.
Certainly. And so we'll find out if the dunking will happen with Language Hacker and his Galakrond Warlock to start things off. I think Galakrond Warlock, or just a defensive controlling Warlock style, is going to be inevitably one of the better decks in the metagame. I think the stock is rising up, so for those who love to invest, the Warlock stocks are rising. Definitely go for it. It's buy for me. I think that part of what makes these kinds of decks difficult in the beginning is that you're not exactly sure what you're supposed to play as removal options in response to the metagame. But as things start to simmer down a little bit, Galakrond Warlock will have the right mix of control tools and then just enough to start punishing the way they used to do. And I think Tice was onto something. I think Language Hacker is very much onto something. Overall, I think it's a really good archetype to explore for future weeks.
Yeah, and the stock cost is super low for Galakrond Warlock because they barely use new cards. So if you played Galakrond Warlock in the last set, you can almost certainly build Language Hacker's version of it because the only new card it runs is 1 copy of the Cold Neophyte, as you can see. Bloodyface is going to be playing the aggressive Rogue deck here, and this one can definitely pack a punch. We saw him run over Firebat's Libram Paladin early on. Granted, many things run over Libram Paladin currently. And also, so far in the Swiss portion, and now in his initial match in the top 8, Bloodyface is 7-0 with this aggressive Rogue deck. He has not lost with it so far this week in Grandmasters, and that tells me that, 1, he's a master at the deck, but 2, the deck has to be high in power level. And it's a unique variation of it, too. It's not kind of that all-in aggressive deck that we have seen from APAC. Really is the only region that's kind of playing it in full force. But it does have a little bit additional value, and sometimes that value can be necessary for not being too one-dimensional in any given game of Hearthstone, like the deck.
It's a Bloodyface special. I believe it's his own creation. I don't think he necessarily got... I don't think he necessarily got the list from somebody else. Maybe he had ideas that were shared with other people, but a lot of people kept playing aggressive Rogue lists. We mentioned Alan Numbers doing something like that. We also saw Gallon get top 10 with an aggressive Rogue deck. Very low curve, use Secret Passage. But Bloodyface seemed to have combined the stealth package with it, as opposed to like full-on, all-out damage that some of these other players have doing with like Sinister Strikes. And so we'll see. You know, I actually do really like a Great Heart Sage. I think that's a really important card in a lot of these aggressive Rogue decks. I think it's going to give Language Hacker at least a little bit of trouble, but maybe not too much when you have cards like Moarg Artificer and Dark Skies. Those are some really important building blocks for Language Hacker to stop this aggression.
Yep.
In the shadows.
And honestly, I was almost expecting Bloodyface to hold on to both of these Spy Mistresses, if only for the fact that played like Feral Cat on 1, which isn't the biggest of deals because usually if you play Spy Mistress on 1, you're not attacking with it anyway, especially when Mortal Coil exists. So in that case, he would get 1 additional netted damage with Feral Cat by playing that on 1 instead. But Dark Skies will completely ruin his day. And Generous Mummy.
So many options.
I don't know.
Not when your opponent's playing Devoted Maniac. Devoted Maniac becomes a very good card at 3 mana.
Yeah. But Devoted Maniac doesn't answer the Generous Mummy, so it would hit for 5? I don't know. But he does curve nicely into the Infiltrator Lillian, and Generous Mummy also, it's not just the next turn that their cards cost less, it's as long as it's on the board. So you really don't want a deck like Galakron Warlock to have that much cost and reduction when they're just trying to get to their power turns, and that allows them to get to their power turns quicker. Now gets... Oh yeah, the Greyheart Sage also picks up an Ash Tongue Slayer. And Shadow Step.
Oh my. Shadow Step is huge.
Man.
A cruel fate awaits you in the
A
ashes.
ton of card draw at the moment. Drawing 4 cards for 4 mana. What?
There we go.
Yeah, definitely go for the attack now that you're going to the Crazed Netherwing turn. Crazed Language Hacker should be able to deal with this board multitude of ways. What's the most efficient way to go about it, though?
Yeah, the one thing he has to account for is the Lillian attack on the Death Rattle.
I like the ability to also play Veiled Worshipper now that you've invoked twice. How to best use this Mortal Coil and the remaining mana that you have. He could, for example, choose to trade and then see what the Lillian does. And if the Forsaken Lillian attacks a 1/1, he can actually Mortal Coil after that. Which is kind of an interesting dynamic. And he's going to go for it. Lillian attacks. A 1/1. So now you can either trade or play Mortal Coil here. I like the coil. Does he want to heal with the Sacrificial Pact at all?
I suppose not. He doesn't have any demons in hand to be able to get that active, but theoretically he has time. And I love the Secret Passage. His hand is so much... It does have a lot of value, but nothing that can really be played onto the board. So just trying to find some cheaper stuff. Sneaky Delinquent, Evil Miscreant, great because he'll get to keep the lackeys that he generates. Maybe even we'll... No, I think the Sneaky Delinquent, because on the other side he has an Ash Tongue Slayer on the other side of the passage, and he wants to be able to guarantee a stealth and to be able to push some damage. And I like the dump of the backstep too, because that card's going away at the end of the turn. Might as well get rid of it. Well done.
Yeah. I mean, so this is part of the reason why I feel like the stealth package makes sense, because it keeps the hand count so high, and it makes Secret Passage not only, of course, more likely to be drawn, but even more effective, because now bloodyface essentially got to play 4 other cards and drew 4 more. So he's been drawing, 8 to 10 cards this game, and Language Hacker just, it's going to be hard to match up with it. The one drawback of aggro is usually a lack of resources. But if aggro can keep playing a ton of cards and draw to keep up that pressure, then these control decks will struggle even if they're designed to beat it. So another breath comes to the hand for Language Hacker. He could use that for big heal gain at the moment, but I think he's probably more prioritized clearing the board. Dark Skies with 8 cards will deal 8 damage. It looks like that's a board clear if he trades into a minion. So he gets a tap as well. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, one other thing to note about this series as a whole, bloodyface can only drop 2 series during the Swiss. One of them was to Language Hacker.
Oh,
he lost him 3-1.
That's right. Bloodyface did lose his Language Hacker in the Swiss portion. I was just commenting on the fact that Bloodyface lost an Eviscerate off of the burn, which is something that he wished he didn't have to deal with. Much rather have that than a backstab right now.
Yep. Oh.
Lightwell.
Yikes. Still though,
Lightwell survives.
Nothing you can really do to it. It does protect him against Dark Skies. Oh no, both Dark Skies have been used, so that doesn't matter. Is there any positive for this light bulb? I don't think so. But this board is quite annoying to deal with, and this chip damage can matter as this game progresses. Bloodyface just kind of waiting for all this burst to be activated. Ash Chunk Slayer and Shadow Step at the stealth minion sticks. That's a ton of additional burst damage, plus Eviscerate and Fireball in hand.
Yeah, it's 13 from hand. I mean, he has lethal next turn. If it's just if nothing else changes, but we know things are going to change.
Actually, even more than 13 because he can Shadow Step the Ash Chunk Slayer if his delinquent sticks.
I think Jack
check
if
out
he wants to tap.
26.
Yeah. I mean, he could fight for more board presence with the Iron Beak Owl. Chooses not to tap. He's kind of starting to respect the burn that this aggro deck has. It's a good choice. But it's not going to help for too much longer because Bloodyface can continue to stack his advantage. Another fireball. Fireball, eviscerate.
Oh. 16 burst damage from hand.
Raw burst damage from hand in form of spells.
Yeah. He could also finish this turn. I mean, Counterspell might have some merit if he thinks he has enough burn, but stick the fireball. Come on, like, it's just so much. Backstab will kill his Guard Artificer and just take advantage of the stealth minion while he can. I like that. With the Shadow Step, because that's the guaranteed 6 damage. And then, hey, throwing a dagger up. I wouldn't even be surprised if he eviscerates now to set up for double Fireball next turn. Oh, or just Fireball.
Whoa,
let's miss out on the dagger. But...
How do you stop that? Wow.
You don't. You die.
If this Mortal Coil hits Dark Skies...
Isn't he use both? Sack Pact?
Yeah. Oh, he's dead. Actually, he's not
dead.
Completely dead yet. I think he's led by 1. Because the dagger hit only gets him to 13 damage right now.
If only that Lightwell had any attack.
Sure. So Language Hacker, he's going to try to develop onto the board as meaningfully as he can. Single point of damage here should do it for Bloodyface, unless I'm missing something. 5, 3. So if he trades all of his minions into like the 4/5, for example, he has 2 damage left, daggers 3, and then Fireball Eviscerates 10, so 13.
So many options.
I guess it's just, yeah, trade off, load up, and that's it.
Yeah. Mermy. The Worgen Infiltrator. I'm not sure if you play both, actually, because you might draw the second Greyheart stage. Okay. That probably shouldn't matter.
Poor generous mummy.
He just wants a hug. He has so much love to give, TJ.
Is he coming into play? What can he really do with 1 mana discount on his cards?
A lot. A lot, actually, with Veiled Worshipper being played.
So many options.
Nope.
I don't feel like there's a need to do that. Okay.
Oh, another Nether Breath in the deck, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but if he plays Veiled Worshipper, he's going to be restricted to just 5 mana this turn. Alternatively, you could just play Galakron. And Galakrond can gain him 5, and that's a guarantee.
Yeah, and from Language Hacker's perspective, he's not desperate enough to try and go for the out of Nether Breath because he doesn't know what the second mage spell is. He saw one Eviscerate burned.
Right.
And honestly,
And also,
Galakrond is immediate life gain.
Right. We don't know if these demons can have a big impact. Oh, they don't.
Yeah.
No taunt. I was like,
don't.
if he had taunt, then bloodyface's damage range has significantly contracted. And
Yeah. Or like
now it's
Priestess
he's
of Fury.
dead. 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 on the board. Plus another 10 is 17. So no taunts equals death for Language Hacker. He's going to be so upset to see that fireball number 2. Ah, and there it is.
There it is.
Language Clapper.
That's a
takes
tough
game
one.
number 1. 8-0. Well, it turns out if you get 2 fireballs in your aggro rogue deck, you're in a pretty good position to win.
Yeah. I mean, that game could have been a lot harder if it was anything else. Any other mage spells. Maybe Pyroblast would have done it. Maybe he would have had some stuff to fill his gaps, like Power of Creation. But yeah, that one's a tough one to swallow from Language Hacker, for sure. But still a lot of series left to play. And, I mean, we kind of expected that Aggro Rogue was going to take a win at some point in that series. Just gets that out of the way early. Still hasn't lost on this. Crazy. There's a possibility for him to go all the way and win week 1 without losing with this deck a single time. In fact, there's also an opportunity for him to just lose out on the semifinals, but never play as Rogue, and just to keep its undefeated record. But he's been queuing it in game 1 for each of his matchups, so that's kind of crazy. It's like every series he starts out with a 1-0 lead.
Very much so. The Rogue has been completely flawless so far, and in terms of its results, I'm sure there's flaws in the deck. There's no such thing as the perfect deck in Hearthstone. If it is, hopefully that thing gets nuked from orbit, because it'd be way too obnoxious to let it run rampant too long, at least in modern day. Language Hacker's going to turn to his Survival Druid. Guardian Druid is what you might see it being labeled as well. We saw this in the previous series, and it seemed like it was doing just fine. I like the tech of the Living Dragon Breath, especially against a deck like Tempo Mage, and we're going to see Tempo Mage make its another appearance here. I personally think that this deck is starting to fall in stock, TJ, if you will. But at the same time, it's Conquest, and a lot of things that... A lot of the issues with a format like Conquest when you're tackling from a player's perspective is that you're not really sure what your 4th deck should be, because you're pretty convinced about like 2.5, 3 classes, and usually the 4th one has enough holes and weaknesses that it feels like if you choose option A, it's good against B but weak against C, and you kind of enter this rock, paper, scissors dynamic. And I feel like that's kind of where Tempo Mage is, where it doesn't really have a lot of overwhelmingly good matchups, except for like Paladin maybe, and then everything else is kind of like slightly unfavorable or even against, which is interesting.
Yeah, 4th deck kind of debacle. I think in this stage of the expansion, you just pick whatever you're comfortable with. Oh man, Nature Studies into Wild Growth into Overgrowth.
Wow,
That's the good stuff right there.
Oh yeah. Oh man, just put that Wild Growth right next to me, just for old time's sake. 2 mana. It's beautiful.
Into Overflow. This is just...
That's right.
Mwah.
Bloody face, no clap. But I guess maybe he hasn't been given a reason to clap yet. No, man. This is actually an interesting decision here. You could justify not playing Overgrowth in this spot.
Well, Bloodyface has 2 Firebrands in his deck.
Yeah.
He innervate out Twilight Runner, and then he Firebrand coins anything. You're very sad because you miss a turn on Overgrowth. You have to Overgrowth next turn. There's 6 damage staring at you on the board.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
There's just fancy plays that you could do, like Twilight Runner and then Overgrowth. Then you get Bog Beam for 0 already, anyways. This is just better.
Yeah. I like the Shinvala play from Bloodyface.
My.
even though Guardian Animals could have come out on this turn, he really didn't have anything else going for him. And at this point, you see so much ramp. I just overflows the bog beams. Essentially the same thing. This is an insane start from Language Hacker.
Yeah, this looks like it might be real quick. Although, we'll see if Jandis Barov... Alright, so it's pretty much just a 5-5 or a 3-5. And you can set up some mind games here of like what Language Hacker can attack into or Guardian Animals into. Either way, I expect both of these just to die. Thresh not being drawn.
Oh, he has 2. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah. Wow. Just nice turn here. However, Language Hacker really needs that Twilight Runner to do stuff because after the minions in his hand, he's pretty much out of stuff here. And we've seen Druid kind of, you know, struggle to find ways to continue their momentum. They're really good at, you know, capitalizing off of an overflow, but we'll see. In the meantime, though, there's still 12 power being represented, or 11 power being represented on the board, so it's still, like, in itself difficult for bloodyface to deal with.
Yeah. bloodyface just hard digging for a Sorcerer's Apprentice right now.
Right.
That's the only thing that really can give him the chance with how his hand is. And I wouldn't be surprised if Language Hacker just loads up minions here.
Definitely looks like a minion loading kind of turn here. Largely because the mage deck has just shown some weakness, right? So while they're trying to ramp up, it's like the mage's turn to ramp, except they're way slower and you're playing twice as many mana crystals per turn. In some ways, it feels like you're playing 2 turns while the mage is playing 1. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
the lab partner
can still find the Sorcerer's Apprentice, but wouldn't be able to fit the Mana Cyclone in with it.
Oh, wow. He's digging already with Evocation. Maybe to find Frost Nova or something.
Oh,
whoa!
What?
He finds it.
All right. So he bought himself a turn.
Also a turn, and I wonder if it's worth investing his mana into something else as well, such as a lab partner preemptively and getting it onto the board. I guess if on that same thought, he could also just use Brain Freeze. But then he's like tossing a lot of his spells out of his hand, and he doesn't have the value that he would be able to get off of a mana cycle. So that's I don't like it the more I think about it. Well, Language Hacker can look for some meaningfully powerful cards for development. Doesn't need Lightning Bloom number 3. Interesting. Savage Roar. I guess he's thinking that he's going to stick like 2 or 3 minions.
Yeah. Because he has lethal on board.
Yeah,
he has lethal on board with just the minions that he has, but he expects with, like, especially the Frostbolt last turn and a couple of his minions being weak, that some are going to die, so Savage Roar gives him that insurance policy.
Pretty tempted to use Ironbark here on Twilight Runner.
Yeah.
Just to try to keep it alive. You know, if your opponent somehow found a way to deal AoE or, like, destroy random enemy minions, something of that sort. Even Flame Strike, right? Like, I don't think any cards generated still has stayed in the hand. That could be the case. Weird things have happened, though.
So we're looking for Sorcerer's Apprentice from this cram session. And that's pretty much the only thing that's going to build him up. Oh, there it is!
Okay.
Time to go!
Yes.
He gets 4 spells for Mana Cyclone. He needs a lot of help.
Oh, wow. And he's not freezing multiple targets because he's only counting the damage in hand. That's where the Savage Roar pick from Language Hacker is very clever. Oh, geez. Okay. Not great stuff here.
Arcane Missile is going to have to snipe one of these. No, I think he's dead regardless.
He's dead no matter what here.
Yeah, he could play a Mana Giant. No, he can't even play Mana Giant. Because he can only play one Elemental Allies.
Yeah, and I mean, that's... In his mind, he's like alive by 1 HP, but he knows that there's several things that kill him. Yep. Savage Drawer is one of them, so that's going to do it. Game number 2 over to the Druid. We kind of talked about how the Mage deck now totally can beat anything, can also totally not do anything and lose.
Yeah.
It can be tricky, but Language Hacker has tied up the series, and now the best of 5 has turned to a best of 3. Both these players would much prefer to just get cleanly through the winner's bracket. Also because I believe the winner of this avoids Muzzy. So if you're thinking about lineups, you're thinking about how does my matchup line up against someone like Muzzy, because quite frankly, going up against either Eddie or Muzzy is kind of a scary proposition. And so I'm sure that's on both these players' minds of whether or not they want to avoid it or just to go into it and hope that you get the bottom seed.
Yeah, but think about your next opponent. Doesn't matter too much because you could just not make it to the top 4 if you lose the series or don't make it into the semifinals at all. But Language Hacker are going to turn to Galakrond Priest. Really struggled with the Galakrond Priest in the last series, but was able to take the win in that last game with the cool little Mind Render to take the 3 secure the deck clause. Not a sentence that you'll hear very often in the current metagame or in any metagame because secure the deck is rarely played. Bloodyface is going to turn to Malagos Druid, so a little bit different for Bloodyface in this one as opposed to Firebat, because Firebat's Galakrond Priest, which was a matchup that he played against earlier on in the day, did not have Mind Render. But Language Hacker does have it, so it's going to be a card that he's going to be having his eyes on, looking for in the mulligan, because you can really ruin this deck with the Mind Render, because you can get rid of some of the very important combo pieces. Because this deck does not run Survival of the Fittest, so they can't stick these giant minions, but they do have the added benefit of being able to go over the top and have the combo with Omu and Germination with Malagos. So, Bloodyface, Speaker Gidra, and Overgrowth kept. Also a Breath of Dreams. If he picks up a dragon, he's got himself a nice little hand going.
Breath of Dreams.
Oh, he found it.
I was about to say, I feel like we haven't really seen Breath of Dreams connect very often with the dragons. But that one game where it did, it was beautiful.
Yeah. So, I feel like Language Hacker was looking specifically for Mind Render because he threw away Draconic Studies, which is normally a great turn 1 play, and I'm trying to think of what else he might be looking for specifically in the mulligan. I can't think of anything besides Mind Render. Because I don't think you... I mean, I guess Disciple of Galakrond's turn 1 play, but then you'd probably keep Draconic Studies if that's what you're after.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I'm just kind of thinking about a little bit what you said and digesting it, but it makes sense because I think the Mind Render is such a powerful way to disrupt Druid, and then the ability to get it back is what really makes it kind of nuts.
Oh, yeah?
It's raised dead. Yeah. The only thing is that he's actually not going to be able to do much with this Elucia turn.
He could dump the coin, and he gets information with the first one.
Right.
Because he knows that this is going to die at some point. He knows that Bloodyface can't make use of any card that was in his hand originally, except for Breath of the Infinite. Which, I mean...
Well, Bloodyface is now incentivized to... Oh, yeah, right. No minion has died.
He could Draconic Studies, but that's a risk, because if he doesn't find a dragon that he can play right now, which would be limited to Brightwing or Fairy Dragon... then he basically just gave that dragon over to Language Hacker, spent the mana for him. He could pick the worst dragon, but honestly, trying to pick the worst dragon is kind of hard because most dragons are good, and a Language Hacker will be able to fit it in somewhere. So it looks like he is going to dig for a cheap one, doesn't find it, so you pick the one that's hardest to play, probably Malagos.
Are you sure?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
It's very hard
Okay.
to play as a priest. You have no
oh yeah,
ramp.
the
you have-
Malygos Raised Dead synergy though. I like that
Oh,
Raised Dead
jeez.
glows up as if it's like, hey, don't forget you have spell damage. God.
I mean, what is funny is that if he has a Malagos on board, he can mind render then kill bloodyface.
Right. Oh gosh, that's so funny.
Apotheos is interesting because it means his Lucia's gonna die slower. But I mean, he saw Overgrowth Guardian Animals, so he's gonna die guaranteed.
Well, there's one way to make it die.
Oh,
wait,
wait,
hold
wait.
on, TJ.
You time rip it.
What if we rip the Elucia so he has nothing to rush into because you saw the Guardian Animals? Is that
Yes.
too? Is that too galactic brain? Are we just being too fancy at this point?
He has Shadow Word Ruin to do with a big board. He doesn't need time rip.
It's one of those things. It's like one of those trick questions on the test at Scholomance Academy.
Nah, too
It doesn't
fancy.
make sense.
Too fancy.
Yes, too fancy. That's right. Sometimes you just gotta go back to the basics. Normal curriculum. Twilight
gonna be-
Runner.
Go ahead.
Sorry, the Moonfire here is interesting as opposed to the Bog Beam. Would you rather hold on to the Moonfire because of the combo with Malygos?
Well, I was gonna make a point about that. Is Bloodyface has this information now? He knows that Raised Dead is in the hand, so he knows that at any point, once he kills his miner under Lucia, Language Hacker can Raise Dead and take it back. So that kind of changes the way he kind of has to play the game. It means that he can't just try and assemble the full combo and then go off with it. But at the same
Right.
time, he doesn't want to just needlessly dump stuff.
He should know about Breath of the Infinite, though. Oh, wait, but there's a dragon in hand now. So he can't actually Breath of the Infinite and kill his own Elucia.
He doesn't know about the Shadow Word Ruin.
Oh,
Wow,
yeah.
this is next level right now. Because he didn't want Mind Render Lucia to die. Because then he could Raise Dead, get it back, and like dump the swipe and Moonfire,
Okay.
which would clear his board.
We're starting to get really abstract. With the
I mean, this
analysis,
matchup is abstract.
Totally. I think everything that you're talking about right now, TJ, makes a lot of sense, and I think that's exactly what we're watching on screen here.
All right, he's dumping it.
Yeah, he says, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to be able to use the Moonfire to kill. Just going to win off of tempo. And Language Hacker now can clear some of the board off. Or do nothing, basically. Breath of the Infinite did 3 damage base total, essentially.
Yeah. I do like not overreacting with the Asera Unleash and going for like time rep heal, because he needs something on board, and the Mind Flayer will get him a Asera as well. So I like that facet of the play.
Oh, wow.
Mind Render just makes every turn difficult.
Right. So I feel like in this case, you can Lightning Bloom and Germinate your dragon. So that's one thing
Yeah.
I'm looking at right now. If you Nature Studies, you can't Lightning Bloom after it and get the same effect. Oh, he could lethal himself in like 6 turns with Secure the Dead.
Would secure the day.
Okay, so he used stacking spells for Kael Foss.
All right.
And if I'm language hacker,
Oh,
tempted.
He could.
Tempted to rend the mind of my opponent.
He also has a decent play with trade in the Mind Flayer, Raise Dead, Mind Flayer, the Ysera Unleashed, and then Time Rip it.
Dream is your nightmare.
Wow. Wow. Actually, I wasn't even thinking about this at all. I was so focused on the Elucia because we've been talking about how it's such a good disruption tool.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how Priest just has tempo now.
I think Bloodyface is getting in his own head about the Mind Render too.
Yeah, maybe. Wait.
This card really rends minds.
But now, Bloodyface has the ability to do something pretty wacky. He can germinate the Gidra.
Okay. But then the summon Gidra just comes as a 1/4.
And then you play Guardian Animals, and then you innervate. I don't know, it doesn't stay 3.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Dang it.
Wait. You Gidra?
No one.
Yeah, it just looks cool. I was thinking about a cool
impossible.
play.
Yeah.
I think it's actually even an okay play. I don't think it's a super good play. Bloodyface almost out of time. He has to go quick, very quick, and animations might be the enemy here at this point. Oh wow, that was a subpar turn.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, Language Hacker might stick the Malagos. Which means that if he Mind Rends, you would be able to use Malagos right back at Bloodyface, which would be just epic.
I don't hate it. Because you clear off the Kel'Thas. There's 9 damage on board. No, you could die. At 18, 9 damage on board. Swipe, hero power. Yeah, you could die. Because he'd still have a Twilight Runner.
Oh, I love this play, because now he gets a free spell! His next spell is free, and he gets to discover it from his deck.
Well, Breath of the Infinite
Soul
honestly
Mirror
seems...
again? Maybe?
You can pick Soul Mirror, but then just Breath of the Infinite trade over for Mind Flayer.
Yeah. That's
And then get the 412. Yeah, that seems good.
I mean, TJ,
Oh, yeah.
if there's a 4-letter word you would describe with how this game is going for the Priest over the Druid, is there a word that jumps to mind here?
Dunk.
Oh yeah, Language Hacker is dunking Bloodyface's Druid. I mean, the Gidra play isn't even that impactful anymore.
No, I mean, nothing is good, honestly. Like, it's funny. Language Hacker won't play Mind Render this game. That's for a second time. But the threat of it has, like, made Bloodyface seemingly try and overthink each of these turns.
Yeah. That's what it does. It mind rends.
It's an apt description.
That's right.
So Gidra with a swiper germination would be just a 5/8, which
Yeah. I think you gotta like bog beam something down. This is clearly too much pressure to go the other way and get past. But like, if he's passing, what is he really trying to hope for? Is it overflow off the top?
yeah, he's played Ysera, so he's got Dream Portals.
Right. He hasn't drawn a single portal yet either.
Yeah.
We're kind of entering the territory where Language Hacker can't Lucio anymore because he's just so far ahead. And he's actually giving his opponent ways to respond because his opponent can just play like Plague of Death right in response to his board.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. At this point, you never give it to him because there's just too much value in your own deck. Power Word Feast.
How many mirrors does Language Hacker's deck have? Like a gym over here. Mirrors everywhere, and I hate it.
Yeah. Probably playing the Fate Weaver. Yep, just to have something on board, fight through some portals if you need be. If you need to, you have the big Lake Thresher. Like, you win the game almost certainly next turn. What's the pickup from bloodyface? It's an Overgrowth. Speaker Gauge your Overgrowth into a bunch of portals. That's what he needs right now. It would shut off his ability to play Overgrowth if he were to draw it from, or to play Overflow if he were to draw it from the Overgrowth. So maybe you hold on, because a 5/8 with Wind Fury doesn't actually kill too many things, and he could always innervate Speaker Gauge or Swipe if he really wanted it. Yep.
All right. That's just gonna do it. Good attempt, but the priest just had complete control over it. And Language Hacker's at the doorstep of handing bloodyface a loss here in the winners. But at the same time, you know, Warlock did show a little bit of weakness against some of the aggression. So the mage seems to be okay, and Druid versus the Warlock, I'm not exactly sure how it fares against it. So I guess we'll have to find out, because the truth is Galakrond Warlock is just not super popular on ladder right now. And I feel like I've only played like I think once against it in the entire time I've laddered, and it didn't win. So I guess like it hasn't been proven too much to me yet. The few sample sizes we have seen with people competing it with Grandmasters, they seem to be doing well with it though.
I love the deck against Druid because Plague of Flames does not discriminate against any minions regardless of size, stealth status. I guess death rattles. It does discriminate against death rattles.
Education.
Yeah. So you have a ton of removal, and you could sometimes run them out of resource. But Malygos Druid's different beast altogether because you're on a clock. You have to find ways to pressure, because if all you're doing is removing their stuff, sure, that might work against Survival of the Fittest. It does not work against Malygos. No Mind Render in Warlock. It is not a dual-class legendary. So that's not a great hand for bloodyface, though. I mean, he can Lightning Bloom out a Twilight Runner, but again, like playing just beasts on board, utilizing a lot of resources to build boards like that can be susceptible to Plague of Flames.
Yeah, I'm shuddering at the thought of Mind Render Elucia being a dual class card.
Huh. Oh, Dark Skies. Okay. I was like, oh, if you Lightning Bloom innervate the Twilight Runner this turn, you're protecting against Plague of Flames because you can't play a minion in Plague of Flames, but he could just coin Dark Skies and then you'd have a completely dead turn. Maybe now? I don't know. It's just, at any point that you play that Twilight Runner, it's going to be susceptible to something.
Right.
So I might as well just get it out now before Language Hacker maybe has a chance to piece that together, and when the overload from the Lightning Bloom won't interrupt a play next turn, because he doesn't even have a play to make.
Right. And so, yeah, the gamble did not pay off for bloodyface, and Druid, once again, awkward spot. Some of the hands for Druid, when it gets rolling, completely unstoppable, but overall, it's been pretty subpar. Druid's at a 43% win rate heading into today, and it's even worse when you play a Malygos Druid version of it. It's at 40% clip. And it's looking like people just have the Druid's number, despite it being so meta-defining and warping. It just feels like it's one of the worst performing classes at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so I kind of want to just play Shield of Galakrond here and leave this Thresher up, just because of the fact that one with just 1/1s being cleaved, there's really not much difference. He could trade in his Devoted Maniac, leave the 1/1s up, go face with those, and just play his Shield of Galakrond. It plays well with the curb. It gets his Evoke out of the way for Veiled Worshipper. Don't really want to play a Nether Breath to try and remove this. I just think this is really his only option. I don't like playing it on that side of the board because now the cleave has more effect. Unless he's planning on trading all of his minions in, he should have played the Shield of Galakrond on the far left. So that way, if it has to attack into a taunt, it only clears off 1/1/1. Okay. Weird.
Yeah, a little strange.
Yeah, he realizes now. Yep.
Yeah. It's okay. I think it's a small thing right now in the big picture, which is that Druid does seem to still be struggling a little bit to get its momentum going, but it can play the Ysera right now. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you ramp and you play Ysera the following turn, it just feels like you're doing the same thing anyways, which is kind of waiting to hit card draw. But now you have a 4/12 on the board.
Yeah, but if you do that, you don't kill the Shield of Galakrond, so you let Language Hacker net 4 damage. If you Overgrowth now, you can hero power it down. But yeah, I understand what you mean. Like, just having a completely empty board seems pretty lackluster, and you can follow this up with Overgrowth going into the next turn.
That could be fair. Do want to clarify, by the way, I was looking at actually the wrong sheet. It was actually for a different region. Druid actually in Americas has been, not surprisingly, one of the better classes, but not like super overblown. It's at 53% clip, which shows it to be a very solid deck overall, with Priest being number 1. Warlock, surprisingly, actually has a losing win rate, but the Warlock decks have definitely been varying, and like we said, they need a little bit more refinement. Language Hacker going to draw 3 cards here, most likely going to at least dump 1 more card, unless he feels value in holding onto the coin.
He has Galakrond, Zephyrs, and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, Kronks. I mean, what would he be sad to see leave his deck? Plague of Flames, probably. Yeah. So yeah, I think so. Twisting Nether also, that's a big one. It would have been a sack pact. I think he could have parted ways with that, but whatever. Coin's not that much value, I don't think.
That's right.
Now, bloodyface looking for portals right off the top of his deck. Nope, mine's Malagos.
It's a pretty appetizing swipe. It's a very clean board afterwards. Swipe and trade is a full clear. And it's like you said, you're not really like building up towards anything.
And he gets rid of some burst damage from his combo, though. But he does need to deal with this pressure, because if all he does is Overgrowth and Bog Beams, he's taking more damage. I think he might have to part ways with the swipe. I think you're right.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I'm thinking about it is that, you know, right now you're basically in a holding pattern to stall for the dragons. That's your primary win condition. I don't think Malagos is very feasible right now as a combo tool.
Yeah.
So I prioritize that. Warlock, when they start sticking minions onto the board, they actually can start outputting crazy amounts of damage because of Nether Breath. And so I respect the amount of pressure that's coming the other way. When there's 12 power and you're at 22, I don't feel comfortable at all against Warlock.
Best play here might be to just play a not fully invoked Galakrond. He's got a full hand, so getting rid of life tap is not the biggest of deals, but man, like giving up the possibility for fully invoked Galakrond is a lot of your burst damage. because that weapon, that 10 damage from that weapon is huge. Now bloodyface hoping for lots of portals here.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Interesting.
No. I mean, the dragon was good.
Yeah. Dragon was good. I think you overgrowth. I think... Yeah, I think you hold onto these bog beams. Malagos bog beam could be some pretty big tempo swings.
Yeah, especially since, as you mentioned, because he's in that holding pattern, and really all he's looking for is dragons from the dream portals. Playing Malagos as a tempo tool just to kind of keep your board around and push a little bit of extra damage with your minions might be better. Language Hacker looking at dumping the Iron Beak Owl just to get a card out of his hand. Put a 2-1 on board. Not really anything to silence in the deck, especially since he has like Leg of Flames. I guess there's Teacher's Pet. But there's only one of them.
Oh my gosh. Big pickup for bloodyface. Huge. And now, Twilight Runner gets to draw 2 more cards. We're back online. Ideally better than a Nidhogg. I wonder if he doesn't want to actually extend too much deeper onto this board, though. Wrath of Dreams can draw another portal.
Still a little bit of scary territory for Language Hacker. Oh, there it is.
Wow.
That's also the 4th minion for Plague of Flames. So not only will it refill his hand, but it'll also get him a nice little clear, except for the Death Rattle.
Right.
Now, it would be funny because if he had held on to the Iron Beak Owl and not played it as a tempo last turn, he would have had a nice, clean, full clear and not have to worry about whatever this beast is. But alas.
Yeah, but he would have hand space issues, so...
Yeah. Also,
okay.
picks up the final Invoke.
Alright. Speaker Gidra into Gift of the Wild. Not right this turn, but you play Speaker Gidra Overgrowth, and then you Gift of the Wild the following turn.
Could tempo Malagos and then Speaker Gidra Gift of the Wild on the following turn.
Nature speaks through us.
Nah, take a Bog Beam.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Probably for the best.
Looking for Dream Portals! Finds a swipe.
All right. Well, by the way, Zephyrus and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza are active now.
How does he fit them in, though? The Dragonbite Cultist is the last invoke, so Galakrond will then be fully invoked. There's 11 damage on board. If he just plays Galakrond here and doesn't get a taunt, he would die to a single swipe. He's seen one swipe. There are 12 cards left in deck from bloodyface. 12 actual cards. Oh, he's going for it. If he doesn't get a taunt here, he's dead. Or some way to clear off some minions on board. Gets a taunt.
Yeah, and Sack Pack actually.
Oh, Sack Pack. Yeah, Sack Pack. You're right. Yeah.
Oh, nice interaction there. To summon an extra 2/1 Whelp.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a pretty big board, and now bloodyface. What? He can germinate, which is honestly not that bad. It helps him clean up almost the entire board with swipes.
Yeah.
So, because it's a copy, he'll be able to use the Rusher to get past the taunt, and he can use the one that was played the previous turn to go face. Oh yeah, great sequencing to make sure that he's able to use Death Rattle and swipe it down.
Nature speaks through us.
Very precise play. I think you... Do you want to take that damage with the hero power? Swipe the face.
Yeah, I mean, just need to set up for some way to kill him. And this is the best way to do it. This is a nice, clean way. Wow, that was a very clean turn. Bloody face.
But is this lethal though? With Crumps
Yeah, it is
and
with
Zephyrus?
Yep.
Yeah.
With an eviscerate.
I believe so.
Exactly
because he's
19.
got 10 on the board, 5 from the Kronk's Battle Cry, and then 4 from the Zephyrus.
Yep.
And with that, Language Hacker 3-1 victory. Druid getting swept, unable to get past Language Hacker as bloodyface looks really good at the Rogue to start things off, but once more, Galakrond Warlock kind of coming through in the clutch. Oh, I love the Wind Fury. Oh yeah, that's swag. Love it.
A little bit of swag. Even Bloodyface had a small smirk there for a second, but
yeah,
looks like their second series is going to go the same way as their series in the Swiss, a 3-1 score from Language Hacker. And he's got his Skullman's Academy robe on, Dan.
That's right.
You guys are classmates.
Looks like lounging around and chilling in his Skullman's robe has paid off. Language Hacker able to advance through. Well done. And looks like, in his own words, he didn't throw today because he said that I either win my group, which he did, or I throw or I don't advance. Apparently, second place wasn't really on his mind at all. So, job well done. And you gotta love the fact that he's going kind of against the grain here with some of his choices. The big warrior, which started things off with the win. The Galakrond Warlock, an unusual choice. Different tech cards in his Priest. Language Hacker is one of the top players to look out for in the Americas these days. And I think he showed you exactly why he is. He's also a free agent, by the way, still looking for opportunities. In the meantime, Bloodyface is going to wait the winner of Firebat versus No Hands game, which will be coming up next for match number 4. And, I feel like, Druid definitely had some awkward draws there, but overall, it did feel like it was a kind of unfortunate pan out for Bloodyface. Like, he would sometimes have the ramp, but not really the card draw to back it up. Or if he got all of those things, it felt like he didn't actually have the oomph, right? Like, he played like Ysera and didn't really draw any of the portals. So, it was a tough situation here for Bloodyface for sure.